Okay, so the next presentation is a dual presentation by Dr. Javier Irizarry from Georgia Institute of Technology and Professor Anil Sahani from the RICS, the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. So this will be a conjoined presentation. So Javier is an associate professor in the School of Building Construction at Georgia Institute of Technology. He's published over 100 journals and academic articles. He's a pioneer of researching unmanned aerial systems and applications within the built environment. He's the director of Connect Tech Lab, looking at next generation technology, a registered professional engineer, and not only that, he's also a Federal Aviation Administration licensed drone pilot operator. Not many people can add that to their CV. The second presenter is Professor Anil Sahani from the RICS. Anil is a fellow of the RICS. He's also the director of the infrastructure sector from the RICS, and he's leading a number of emerging initiatives and strategies in the commercial management of global infrastructure projects. He's published well over 150 journal articles and academic papers, and he's also the co-editor of Construction Innovation, one of the leading journals in this area. So, gentlemen, welcome to you both, and I look forward to the presentation. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Jack. So we're going to get started and try and give it our best shot in coordinating how this presentation is going to proceed. Javier is going to help run the presentation, it seems, with the first few slides that I will use to talk, and then he's going to do the rest of the presentation. So I think we were given a topic that sort of bridged between business as usual, what's happening right now in terms of the global economic, health, and social challenges that our communities are facing, connected to the future of construction and what's going to be happening. So with that as a background, I think we will start our presentation, and I'm hoping we decided that Javier is going to run the presentation on his computer. So let's see once that's shared and fired up. Okay, I guess what I will do in the meantime is use my machine to run the presentation. So the title of our presentation is Construction 4.0, and the future of construction in the new normal. Thank you very much for inviting us to present on this topic. We're going to follow a very simple structure for this presentation. I will provide a little background in terms of the context of this presentation, provide an overview of Construction 4.0, which happens to be the title of a handbook that I've co-authored with Javier and Professor Mike Riley from Liverpool John Moores University, and then hand it over to Javier, who will present on his work relating to Construction 4.0, and at the end, hopefully, we will have some question answers. I understand that this is the last presentation, so we must remain on schedule here. So the first thing I want to share with you is some of the work that RICS has been doing once we set into this COVID situation. We've been running a lot of digital webinars for our members and non-members globally. I'll just pick one that we have recently worked on, which was on May 26th, called Prefabricating the Future, Design in the Age of Industrialized Construction. This webinar discussed, with the help of some leading industry experts, how construction is going to shape up post-COVID. One of the things we did during this session was to run a poll, a live poll. So this is by no means a scientific survey or instrument that was used, but nevertheless, we asked those who were in attendance, and about, I think, close to 200 people responded. And the question that we asked was, what is the impact of this current situation on on-site productivity? That included the impact essentially on labor cost to produce the same level of output or the total revenue per month. So largely what we found was most of the respondents, and this sort of connects well with some of the interviews we have conducted with senior industry leaders in the US and Canada as well. The construction sites are seeing about 10 to 20% drop in productivity due to the health and safety guidelines and other safe distance measures that are in place. So you can see that generally people felt during these sessions that were attended by mostly industry folks was that the case for transforming towards a digital um, approach to construction is becoming more strong. This further evidence of what's happening. This is, I think, a very interesting application of digital technologies in construction. Most of you would have heard of a platform, I think, quite popular in North America called Procore, that most construction companies have begun using. So based on this tool, they've done some big data and data analytics in the background because their system is used by project delivery networks on a variety of projects throughout North America. So this graph essentially they plotted using the data that's stored on their cloud-based system, and you will notice one of the things that you is seen on this graph is that there was a significant drop in the recorded worker hours in the month of May. So the drop started really in March, and there was some ups and downs, and there was significant drop. But then by May and June, you're seeing that the levels of worker hours recorded are reaching back up, or even gone beyond the pre-COVID times. So does that mean are we back to normal, or are we headed towards a new normal? The next slide that I have is actually from McKinsey, where they plotted in a very interesting chart the salary or the annual remuneration of workers on the left, and they plotted what's sort of called the occupational risk score on the x-axis. And you will notice a lot of the green bubbles, those are the front-end healthcare workers. Obviously, they are the ones at the forefront of this. But you will notice that on the bottom left quadrant, there are the construction workforce that's actually not a very high on the occupational risk score. And the occupational risk score is measured using physical proximity, exposure to disease and infection, and contact with others. So that sort of showcases that there is a lot of fear and in terms of exposure that needs to be tested based on the health and safety guidelines and regulations that exist on site. And much of that can be done utilizing Construction 4.0 technologies that many of you would have come across, including wearable sensors, including all other kinds of interventions. And many of the construction sites that I have sort of visited recently close to where I live is that they have either industrial hygienists or medical staff on large complex sites who are intervening and providing some help. Um, so if you are keeping track of what's happening in the industry, you will notice that various parts of the world are using this as an opportunity, calling it a reboot, calling it a restart, reimagine, reinvent. RICS, we are this month calling it Build Back Better or the new normal. So I don't know what is the real story, but one thing has become clear, that there is going to be an acceleration towards digital transformation given what we are witnessing. So really that transformation, as we see this at RICS, is towards three major themes: how we construct or fabricate, how we develop and use digital tools, how we procure and deliver. So using that as a theme, we needed a paradigm or a glue that combined these three transformations needed. And we feel that Construction 4.0 framework provides that, that transformation that is needed by the industry. So we define Construction 4.0 as a paradigm that uses cyber-physical systems and Internet of Things, data and services to link the digital layer consisting of BIM and CDE and the physical layer consisting of the asset over its whole life to create an interconnected environment, integrating organizations, processes, and information to efficiently design, construct, and operate assets. So that's a paragraph of a definition. I do understand that. But broadly, what we try to define is what is Construction 4.0, what does it use in terms of technologies and emerging trends, how does it work, what does it do, and how does it help. So broadly, we think Construction 4.0 framework rests on a model and data-centric layer, which is helped by product platforms or physical platforms and digital platforms, which eventually impact or benefit the people and processes that we envision in Construction 4.0 framework. One of the aspects we cover within Construction 4.0 is this idea of digital ecosystems. As you know, that in today's world, many of the companies that have been successful have moved away from selling a product. They create an ecosystem in which a large number of collaborators come and create innovative products where the end user or the customer also participates. And I think that is happening in our industry today. And that is a crucial feature of Construction 4.0. Large players like Autodesk has Autodesk Forge. Procore has its own platform where you can take their core layer, which is exposed using SDKs and APIs, and build digital tools to solve real world problems in sort of partnering with third party developers. So you can find more information about the digital ecosystem in what we have published. But I think in the interest of time, I'm going to stop and request my good friend Javier to continue from here.
Excellent. Thank you, Anil. Apologies earlier, my computer didn't seem to want to share my screen. I'm going to try to do that now. Let's see.
So should I stop my presentation?
Not yet.
Okay.
Can you see my screen? If you can stop sharing.
Okay.
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay, so I will continue. So some of the presenters earlier on during the conference, and first let me thank the organizers and the colleagues for their wonderful presentations, very informative, and for the opportunity to come and share some of the insights that we're gleaning from this whole situation. I won't spend too much time going into the pandemic itself, very controversial subject here, as you can imagine, but it has had a significant impact worldwide. The figure that I showed on the screen was just John Hopkins' dashboard that shows the situation day by day, and it is very concerning. Has had significant effects in all levels of society. So it seems like we're going to be in what many call a new normal. You can imagine the situation in retail establishments. For example, here in the U.S., an attempt was made to start reopening. Some places were determined to be reopening very sooner than they should have, and they're having issues now. But they adaptations were made to the way that businesses operate. Services are rendered. Social distancing is the norm now. Also, workplaces have been going through changes in things as mundane as you may think, the cleaning processes. They have to be disinfected every day. And we don't know what schools would look like. The education system in every country has been affected. Some have started to reopen schools and practicing protection for in the US. We're kind of struggling with that process right now. But how has that affected the construction industry? Some of the colleagues have gone into details on the economic impact and how the industry is being affected. In broad terms, what we see, of course, is the need for social distancing. Workers have to work with more space between them. The enhanced personal protective equipment, such as face coverings, face shields, arrangements of work in staggered shifts. Now the trades have issues that would affect schedule, as they have to work on different schedules almost. And the need for top-bottom disinfections of job sites and things that they use every day, such as the tools and the machinery, have to go through enhanced disinfection protocols. Supply chain disruptions, that was covered in detail a little earlier, and the use of remote office work. Now, a lot of the functions that can be done in job site offices are now being done remotely as well. I show some examples of a local construction company here in the city of Atlanta, Baxon Cook Construction, and some of the measures that they've taken, and this is taken from their protocols on how to implement and educate their workforce on what social distancing is. For example, some of these graphics show the relationship between common day objects or objects that workers would find in construction site or everyday life, and what does that mean in terms of separating themselves from others. Also, the protocols on temperature measurements. That is something that is being implemented at the job sites, and now there's temperature measurement stations that workers have to go through every time they go into the job site. So what are going to be the effects of these? So these are things that we're asking ourselves, and there will be a lot of research that will try to assess what the quantifiable impact of this situation will be. So what do we think the industry is going to be experiencing going forward? I have a couple of things that I'll like to talk about. And what we're seeing and we're thinking that is in the process of happening is this integration of these technologies and the construction 4.0 framework that will become even more relevant in how we go forward from this situation and the future in construction. Like Anil mentioned earlier, we worked on this construction 4.0 book. We didn't know that this was going to happen, and we thought the time frame for implementation is sooner than we think. It's a lot of the technologies are already here, but we did not imagine that we will be thrusted into immediate application of some of these tools as we are seeing now. You see some examples of workers that are going to have to work and wear enhanced protection equipment, physical separation, but also the implementation of technologies that has been researched and tried to apply for years and sometimes decades, like virtual reality, augmented reality, robotics, and so on. So some of the things that I'll quickly go over here, the need for new or adaptive skills. Professor Soyman mentioned that education is going to have to change. So our students in the future are going to have to be more nimble and adaptable to these new technologies coming into the workforce. And we're seeing that and implementing that right now and trying to address it through our own educational offerings. Collaborative environment. We had the experience in higher education here and across the world, I'm sure, of having to switch at the drop of a dime to virtual learning. So that same experience in virtual learning will be even more important. We continue to have a need for remote work. The redesign of tasks that we perform now in the industry. I have one quick research example that I'll share, but there's many more that show how Construction 4.0 technologies will help to redesign some of those tasks. And I'll talk about what's happening in construction education that will hopefully help us to address the current situation and looking towards the future, implementing some of this Construction 4.0 to the improvement of the future of the construction industry. So new or adaptive skills that people will have to start getting used to and learning about. Some examples include from my own experience in the last almost 10 years researching the use of unmanned aerial systems for applications. The figure on the left of the screen shows a concept that we imagined how drones would be used in construction sites. This is almost 10 years ago. Now this is a reality. The part that's still not fully implemented is something like two-way interaction or communication between workers and drones on job sites. With the need of social distancing, we think that this will be a reality sooner than we expected. We've also been working with the development of unmanned aerial platforms that can help to move things around a job site. Logistics is something that COVID-19 has affected because of the need for social distancing and the issues with logistic chains, supply chains. So we have developed a few units that are able to carry small loads, large loads, about 100 pounds. And in the future, we see how these vehicles will be able to help the site workers to move things around without having to interact with each other that much, at least for the foreseeable future. Other examples from Finland, robotics that can help with the cleaning of job sites, which is another task that you would think it's mundane, but it's something that is done every day on job sites, and this is a need that the folks at Blue Robotics are researching. I recently visited some colleagues in Barcelona, in Spain, and they are working on developing actuated robotic arms that can be used for very high precision 3D printing with various materials. So this is, again, another innovation that we think will soon come to job sites. You may have seen Spot, the walking robot. So there's these new collaborations with companies like Faro, the company that develops laser scanning technology, and Boston Dynamics to mount a Faro laser scanner on one of their units and they can be used to collect data on job sites autonomously without human intervention. And that's another way of construction 4.0 technologies that can be merged and can be used to enhance or adapt to new methods that are needed. And the last example I have is a combination of unmanned aerial systems and visualization technologies that we think will play a large role in the remote inspection of job sites, not only for the data collection, but also for real-time monitoring by supervisors. So there are other technologies that are part of the construction 4.0 framework, such as prefabrication. A few years ago, not this last year, thankfully, I had the opportunity to visit China and tour around some of their concrete prefabrication facilities, and being able to develop very efficient ways to prefabricate concrete panels that they can use for high-rise construction applications. We don't have to go too far to see successful examples of this. Last week, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and this is something that was mentioned in an earlier presentation, toured a facility from Totally Modular. This is a company that is creating prefabricated dwelling units in the UK, and this is something that is going to again become more used in the current situation and going forward. In the terms of design, there are companies that have developed design software. Vertex Systems is a worldwide company that have design software that companies can use to design prefabricated modules and be able to construct factory environments. And this will definitely be something very helpful and useful with the current situation and the new normal. So about collaborative environments, Professor Silberman was talking about some of the virtual reality setups that they have used. And we think that this will continue to grow. But in addition to collaborative environments that use virtual reality, something that we experience moving to online education and feedback that we receive from students were the issues with the lack of personal interaction, if you will. So these virtual environments are evolving and will evolve to try to provide some sense of telepresence. And to that point, there are some companies, Compy Robotics is one example, that have developed telepresence robots that have been used in healthcare environments. And we think that this will be something that we'll start probably seeing in construction sites. So you can still have a physical presence on the job site with physical or social distancing, but not being so socially apart. And right now, companies like Mortenson, this is a company we have that works in the US, is using virtual environments for design coordination. This image was taken before the current situation, so of course there would be more PPE present in this session. So in terms of redesigning tasks, we are starting some work with the Georgia Department of Transportation, and again, we didn't expect that these would be this type of research would be so relevant to the current situation. When we started talking about these redesigning of tasks. The purpose was to allow, in the case of inspections of mowing work, something that we may all think that is a very mundane task that somebody has to do in construction, or in this case, infrastructure maintenance. In this case, there's the need for supervisors to go out to the field and inspect the work that contractors perform in mowing. So we're looking at trying to provide a remote version of that task, where the inspector can deploy drones to take images, and then using artificial intelligence, those images are processed, and changes in the surfaces can be detected, and that way an assessment can be performed of whether grass was cut or not, or to what extent, to assess the quality of the job. So we thought this would be useful for the safety of the inspectors, who now would not have to go into traffic, but to not have social distancing and other protocols are in place. So there's a few other examples of this that we're or projects that we're working on with the department, and we hope to make progress very soon. So in terms of construction education, so education overall has been affected by the current situation, requiring universities to take unprecedented measures. Here in the US, just yesterday, three large universities, Harvard, Princeton, and I forgot the other one, basically announced what their plans were. And those plans include fully online learning for the fall semester, with limited access to students to the universities. Those are two of the three universities that shared their plans yesterday. From our perspective, Georgia Tech plans to have mostly hybrid learning during the fall. But the hybrid learning, we're still trying to figure out how that would look like. Colleagues at Purdue, Professor Hashtag will probably know more about these plans than I would. But being an alumni from Purdue, I'm always interested in what they're doing. They have set up classrooms with physical barriers between instructors and students, as you can see in the image, as well as required social distancing and requirements for the use of protective equipment, among other measures. At Georgia Tech, we're following similar ideas, and we'll see what that looks like in the fall when everybody starts going back to school. So this brings me to the topic of the new skills that we will have to teach students in this new normal learning environment, which of course will present the challenges that we all can think of for faculty as they try to teach in this new environment, and also for students. And the last item dealing with education is opportunities for adult learners. So adult learners, what we mean by that is folks that are in the industry right now that either want to pursue graduate degrees, or that wish to continue their education with professional programs or continued education programs. To Professor Soldman's point, this brings the topic of the long life learner. And we're very much thinking about this and how we can retool the current workforce to deal with not only the new normal, but the integration of construction 4.0 technologies in the industry's future going forward. So one example that I would like to share about acquiring new skills is the use of drones. So drones have been increasingly applied in the industry. We're looking at novel ways of applying this very useful technology. We have a course that deals with this in a structured learning environment, and it follows the steps that are shown on the slide, dealing with theory of drones, drone flight simulation in software and hardware mode, and practical experiences for students to be able to learn to use this technology indoors and outdoors. So you'll notice, of course, these images are from the way that this course has been taught, and now we're thinking how we're going to reimagine how students can learn these topics. So this is another example of the environment that we use to teach students to use this technology. That's an indoor flight cage because when dealing with drones, safety is a concern. And the image that you see here of the student holding the drone, that's the answer to Dr. Bird's question or comment on the Georgia Tech football team not being very good. These team members. And I think because we have them work so hard and learn new skills with drones and things like this, they probably are not as good as Auburn, I guess. So this last set of images on the topic are the outdoor version of the teaching students to use a new technology like drones for the different applications that have been mentioned and that we all are familiar with, capturing progress images, photogrammetry, things like this, and these are all skills that we aim to have students learn. So after learning the ins and outs of using drone technology in a structured educational environment, one benefit or one of the many benefits that students get is that they can sit for the FAA Part 107 exam, which is the drone license that I have, which is what allows me to legally teach students to use drones in a classroom. And they have been able to get that license. So they go to the employers and they can immediately apply that skill. Some other examples from colleagues across the U.S., University of Florida, in the Wrinkle School of Construction, they've been using safety measures, social distancing, personal protective equipment, and disinfection protocols to be able to continue to deliver hands-on courses like we see in the image, surveying. And would like to mention that one way that we're trying to address the need for new skills in a world where construction 4.0 technologies are going to become even more used is the restarting of our undergraduate program. We have reimagined our undergraduate degree, and it's mainly focused on the implementation of technology that are construction 4.0 friendly that will be needed by the future workforce. So that's how we're trying to contribute to the industry by providing graduates and the future workforce with the skills that are going to be needed. And almost at the end of the presentation, I'd like to recommend some reading material. The Construction 4.0 book that Dr. Soeni and Riley from John Moore Liverpool University and Riggs co-authored with myself. And this is something that is useful for industry and academia to get a primer and learn about all these technologies in one place and hopefully share with students and be able to train the next generation of construction professionals. That will be Construction 4.0 ready and Construction 5 and 6 and the future.
Thank you, Javi. I think that was wonderful. I like the
Thank
plug. I know we are about 2-3 minutes over time, and I'd like to share I guess the reason for delay with Richard also, who had a fascinating story. But I think with that, we'll thank you, Jack, David, and Arif for organizing this event. It was nice presenting. I know there are a few questions. Maybe we can pick up one, Jack.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Javier. Thank you, Anel. Again, a very interesting presentation. And I'd like to make a blatant plug for a free copy of the book, please. Seen as I did with a free beer on the previous presenter. Notwithstanding that, we have 3 questions. I will take them in order, and I'll only ask 2 questions. The first one is to do with prefabrication. And the question is as follows. The prefabrication industry faces a lot of issues due to high variability and low volume. Post-COVID, can we expect the prefab industry to pick up and to meet the new norms that you mentioned?
Maybe I'll, Javi, if you don't mind, I can address that one. It's a
Yes.
very good question. I can definitely say that the current situation has once again accelerated the interest towards adoption of prefab. But I guess the challenges still remain. Obviously, one of the challenges is that when we talk prefab, most folks think it's volumetric. We're talking about pods, and their implementation is limited in projects. But really, when we talk about prefab, we should consider on-site, near-site, off-site production of components that are not necessarily volumetric. So a lot of that is already happening in the industry, especially in the mechanical, electrical, and firefighting trades, especially in the US. So when we ran this webinar with Autodesk, with Canon Design, and a construction company, the Bold company, we had a very interesting discussion in terms of the very same issues about economies of scale, transportation issues. But I think today the technology is there to deliver prefab. It's a matter of our procurement regimes. It's a matter of cultural and mindset issues that need to be overcome. So I personally think while there are several examples of testing pods for COVID virus, there are many examples of deploying medical facilities using prefab technology, but I think it's only a temporary phase that probably the industry is going through. But in the long run, this has definitely helped promote the idea of prefab.
Okay, thank you very much. And final question, short question. What is the best way of incorporating Construction 4.0 in the curriculum to prepare future graduates for the new normal?
I think Javier was best placed to answer
Yeah.
that. But before you do, Javier, I want to respond to Jack. Jack, you can buy a Amazon Kindle bundle and you'll get our textbook free.
Okay. Thank you. I knew there'd be a way of getting out of it. Sorry, Javier, over to you to respond to the question. How can we incorporate Construction 4.0 into the curriculum to prepare graduates for the new normal?
Well, the way, am I on? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Well, the way that we're doing it is we're looking at what the requirements are from accreditation bodies that deal with construction education and trying to see how we can fit those topics that deal with technology. But not only doing that, also thinking pedagogically, hands-on is the best way to do this, which we'll have to deal with in the current environment. But in addition to that, we have consulted with industry partners and assessed what tools and technologies they see using in the future, and what what skills they would benefit from students having with those technologies. So there's multiple approaches to doing this. But one easy approach is buying the Construction 4.0 book and seeing how that can be implemented in everybody's curriculum, which we are currently doing.
Well, that's super. Thank you. I think I'm in the wrong presentation. This is a marketing presentation. I must be in the wrong Zoom meeting. Gentlemen, thank you once again for your presentation.